Shalom everyone, this is Larry. Welcome to my new channel, Warriors Triumph. I'm going to upload a video about explaining what to expect from this channel in the future. I want to start out by presenting to you a video about the description of the beast and the whore that is mentioned in the book of Revelation chapter 17. I'm going to explain what the beast, 10 horns, 7 crowns, 7 heads, 10 crowns, whore, and waters represent by explaining all 18 verses of Revelation chapter 17. Before we begin, I'm going to mention one thing. I will not be leaning on the Israelite breakdown that mentions the 7 heads as NATO in this time and the same countries with different names during the time period of Christ. The beast is Rome and the horns as the European Union. I will also not use my personal opinions, dictionaries, commentaries, and freestyle, also known as talking out the side of my neck. I will only use the Bible to explain the Bible. I'll explain the meaning for Christ's time period and today. Let's begin with Revelation chapter 17 verse 9. And here's the mind which hath wisdom. A mind that has wisdom comes from following the commandments. This includes keeping the commandments and using precepts to get understanding. Let's read 2 precepts for proof and continue to break down. The book of Psalms, Psalm 111, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endureth forever. Now I'm going to turn to Psalms 119 and read verse 104. Through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 17 and continue reading. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. The 7 mountains are the 7 churches of Asia, as it is revealed in Revelation chapter 1 verse 4. I'll read the verse for proof. Turning to Revelation chapter 1, and I'm going to read verse 4. John, to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be unto you and peace from him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the 7 spirits which are before his throne. I'm going back to chapter 17 now, on which the woman sitteth. This is a representation of sin. The saints and the churches are receiving improper teaching from false prophets. I'm going to explain more about this as we continue. I want to explain the next verse to bring out a point that I don't see being taught in many places. Here's the next verse. And there are 7 kings. These kings are the churches that I mentioned earlier. 5 are fallen. Now we already mentioned the churches. Let's name the churches and figure out which 5 have fallen. The names are in Revelation chapter 1 verse 11. I'm going to read it. Saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. And what thou seest, write in a book and send it unto the 7 churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. Revelation chapters 2 and 3 mentions how the Lord has judged them. Only Philadelphia and Smyrna were keeping the commandments. The Lord chastised Ephesus, Pergamos, Thyatira, Sardis, and Laodicea. When you have time, please read these chapters to examine the scriptures yourselves. I'm picking back up in chapter 17, verse 10. And one is, and the other is not yet come. One of the churches is where Satan dwells. This church is Pergamos. Here's the precept. I'm turning to Revelation chapter 2, and I'm going to read verses 12 and 13. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos write, These things saith he which hath the sharp sword with 2 edges. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas, my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. The one that is also referring to all of the churches that will be cast down. Verse 11 covers this. We'll get to it soon. Now let's finish verse 10. The words, the other is not yet come, is referring to the 10 horns in verse 12. I'll cover that in the third video of this series. He must continue a short space. He is the devil, aka man of sin, aka Antichrist, and aka false prophets. Let's prove that he is the devil by using a precept that lines up with the statement, he must continue a short space. I'm going to turn to Revelation chapter 12, and I'm going to read verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. This great wrath is improper biblical teachings. There are 2 verses in Revelation chapter 17 and 18 that say the same thing. Both of the verses mention wine, which is lies, according to Micah chapter 2 verse 11. One uses the word wrath too. Let's read these precepts with the precept from Micah chapter 2 verse 11. Okay, Revelation chapter 17 verse 2 is the first precept. And here it is. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. The next precept is Revelation chapter 18 verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Here's the third precept. Micah chapter 2 verse 11. If a man walking in the spirit and falsehood do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink, he shall even be the prophet of this people. Revelation chapter 17 verse 11 is a repeat of verse 10. Let me prove it. And the beast that was. This is a reference to the 5 churches that aren't keeping the commandments, and it's not. The 10 horns haven't started following the beast yet. Even he is the 8th. This beast is the churches that fell, including Pergamos and the whore, and goeth into perdition. This is the same thing as saying he must continue a short space. The beast and the whore will be put in a low state. I'll explain this more in the third video of the series. I've explained the 7 heads, 7 crowns, and the beast just a little. I'm going to read verse 6 of Revelation chapter 17 to expound a little bit more information about the beast. Revelation chapter 17, verse 6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. The people that were ruling took the life away from the saints by teaching incorrectly. Remember that the woman is drunk. I explained that the drunkenness comes from wine, which is lies. The blood and wine are the same thing. Wine makes people drunk that don't drink in moderation. We must go precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little to get understanding of the scriptures. Isaiah chapter 28 and chapter 29 explain this more thoroughly. I'll upload a video about it later in the future. Let's get one precept from Isaiah chapter 28 and move on. Turn into the book of Isaiah. I'm going to read chapter 28, verse 7. But they also have erred through wine, and through strong drink are out of the way. The priest and the prophet have erred through strong drink. They are swallowed up of wine. They are out of the way through strong drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment. Now back to the main scripture. Let's explain Revelation chapter 17 verse 6 in a different way by using a similitude. The first book of the Bible will give the understanding. Turn into Genesis, and I'm going to read chapter 9 verses 1 through 6. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. And at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. The surface level of these scriptures means that people can eat certain meats now, just like vegetables. The only restraints are that blood must be poured out and that people can't commit murder. Now, the spiritual meaning of the verses means that the leaders rule the people and that they can't harshly rule the people that keep the commandments, which includes shedding their blood by causing them to sin. The life is in the blood. That is why Proverbs chapter 21 verse 16 says this: The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. Now these same saints that are mentioned in Revelation chapter 17 verse 6 gave up their lives for Christ, but their lives / blood was given to the whore / false prophets. Let me read the verse again and explain the last part. Revelation chapter 17 verse 6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. John wondered in admiration because he didn't have the understanding. Remember the verse that I just read from the book of Proverbs. Even the next verse in Revelation chapter 17 proves this. Here it is. Revelation chapter 17 verse 7. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The word marvel in this verse has the same meaning as great admiration in verse 6. The angel, which is one of the righteous leaders of the churches of God, according to Revelation chapter 1 verse 20, let John know that he would explain to him what I'm explaining in this series about the beast and the whore that sits upon many waters. The following scripture of the chapter that we are examining continues to prove that John needed the understanding from a trained elder. Let's read it together. Revelation chapter 17 verse 8. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Now the word wonder in this verse has the same meaning as the words great admiration and marvel from the previous 2 verses. John's name is written in the book of life. That is why the angel gave him the understanding. The very first verse of this lesson, which is verse 9, lets us know that John had wisdom. The rest of verse 8 basically explains verses 10 and 11 again. The bottomless pit refers to the false teachers being kept at bay until they were allowed to deceive the world. Then they will go into perdition again, which is where they came from in the first place. For those of you that have been viewing my videos from my For Israel channel that has been active since 2016, you know that I've gone into more details about the bottomless pit with the breakdown of all 15 verses of Revelation chapter 20 in 3 videos. For those of you that don't know about my other channel that I've had with my spiritual brother Will, we've dealt with a lot of topics without holding back. Some of the information might be offensive. We were just starting to learn about the true meanings of the scriptures. Let me know if any of you want a link to the channel. Now remember, some of the stuff might be offensive. This video is getting pretty long. I'm going to end it here. Now, so far, I've explained Revelation chapter 17, verses 6 through 11. I still need to explain verses 1 through 5 and verses 12 through 18. I'll continue breaking down Revelation chapter 17 in the next video of this series. If you like this video, please make sure that you subscribe to receive notifications in the future about videos that I plan on uploading in the future. I'm going to be giving breakdowns about regeneration, giants, creation, immortality. If I seal up the right precepts, the so-called 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and other topics. I'll talk to you all later. Have a nice day. Bye.